reporter Manqoba Mchunu was at that briefing. He joins me now. So Manqoba, it's the third COVID year, really. What is the reality of school life going to be for children returning from tomorrow?
Also, it will be pretty much the same as we saw in the past 2 years. So that means that learners will be going back to school where they will be screened for COVID-19. They'll have to be tested for their temperatures to ensure that none of them have COVID-19. We're also going to see those long queues, of course, being formed outside, with social distancing also being enforced to ensure the safety of the learners. Because the concern at this particular point is that the Omicron variant, which is currently doing the rounds, is the one that is actually very highly admissible, especially among children. So we are expecting to see those measures being, to a certain extent, heightened by the officials in the various schools. We have spoken to some of the schools. We visited Bryanston High School earlier on, just to look at their preparedness for tomorrow. And they're telling us, Sally, that they'll be pretty much going to what we saw last year, with the classes having enforced that social distancing of about a meter now apart. Because you recall that before that it was about 1.5 meters, but that has since been revised by the Education Minister to 1 meter. So that is still going to be enforced in the classrooms. And of course, we're expecting also to see a lot of more measures in terms of schooling, in terms of the rotational timetable possibly coming back into play because of the fact that they're trying as much as possible to minimize the number of infections in schools.
All right, let's take a listen to what the Minister had to say about rotations.
Schools will remain the same, especially on the rotational timetable, where it is applicable when schooling concluded in 2021. The fact of the matter is that COVID-19 is still very much with us, and we need to continue to work together to fight it. We're exploring possibilities to return schooling to normal, as the call has been made by teacher unions, some teacher unions, parents, and even schools that they would wish to have all their learners coming. But unfortunately, we have to comply ourselves, the Department of Education, with the protocols of COVID-19. We can't do it on our own, and we have to really work at our own mechanisms.
So my understanding on the rotation issue is it's not compulsory. If you have the ability to create the space, you can go back full-time in government schools?
Indeed, Sally. What we do understand is that some of the schools, of course, are not using that rotation system. And this is basically on the issue of capacity. If a school is able to cater for learners in a particular class at a particular time, then they can go to their normal timetables. But of course, at some schools, this is not possible because we're talking of schools that have overcrowding in some of the classes, where you'll find that in a particular lesson, you'll find that there are more than 70 learners in that particular class. So it makes it quite difficult for those schools to then enforce social distancing. And this is where really that rotational timetable will apply for those schools that are not able to cater for social distancing. The department saying that, of course, that they're looking into the issues of spacing. They are trying to perhaps add more classes to those particular schools, including mobile classes that we know that have been part of some of the projects that have been trying to ensure that there's enough social distancing. So these are some of the things that they're looking into going into there. But of course, they're insisting that this rotational system, which essentially means that learners attend on particular hours or learners attend on particular days or even weeks, will continue up until that guideline by COCTA is changed to ensure that learners then can go back to normal. But the department saying that at this particular point, they cannot go back to normal. They still have to follow the guidelines of the Department of COCTA when it comes to enforcement of COVID-19 regulations.
And of course, we know that 2020 was a highly disrupted schooling year, 2021 less so. And I think there are hopes that it's going to be a lot easier this year. Everyone knows what to do. I think some 80% of teachers have been vaccinated. Children over 12 have access to the vaccinations. And of course, Omicron, while it spreads much quicker, seems to be a lot less severe. So I suppose hopes are high that things can get back to normal a little easier. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing that is an ongoing problem, COVID or not, is placements. And we saw yesterday, Heidi Jacobs reported on that school or parents in Pretoria who wanted access to a school that they say they live just a couple of kilometres away from, but had been placed at schools 30 kilometres away. Did the department have any comment on that specific issue and an indication of how widespread this worry is?
Indeed, Sally, the department admitting that, this is one of the challenges that they're facing. Of course, it's not for the first time that we're hearing of these challenges, especially here in Gauteng. I think year on year, this is one of the challenges that the department has to deal with when it comes to admissions for grade 1s as well as grade 8s. This is because simply they're saying that of the migration patterns in Gauteng and the Western Cape, which is one of the provinces also affected by this particular issue. They're saying that the migration patterns are to blame for this, but also the fact that some of the parents do not really, register their children on time. This actually compels and compounds that problem when it comes to online registration process. But the department saying that they are working with these provincial governments, the Western Cape. I know it's the Western Cape, it's Gauteng, it's KwaZulu-Natal, I think Free State as well. So they're saying that the parents, in fact, must give the department, the provincial departments time to actually deal with this situation, calling for, parents to exercise some sort of, patience when it comes to this issue, because it's not an easy issue. Some of the schools that they want their children to be placed under are already full. So they are saying that this is a matter that they're taking highly, and they are asking for parents to really give them more time to sort out these issues, and they are promising that they will be sorted out as early as February if possible. But take a listen to what they have to say on this.
I know it's not very comfortable for learners, for parents to know that when Tuesday other learners are going to schools, their children are not going to school. But we are committing that by law we are compelled to find spaces for every child. So it's not their burden alone, it's our responsibility also to make sure that we find places for all the learners. And really appeal with communities to allow provinces to place learners where they're places, because there are also understandably preferences that parents have, and sometimes those preferences are every parent's preference, and therefore we are not able to use all those spaces for what the parents wish.
Well, yes, preference is one thing, but being sent to a school 25 kilometres away from where you live and a different school to where a sibling is a very real concern. I'm sure that our reporters will be out at the various schools tomorrow morning as they open, bringing us the very latest on how smoothly things are working and some of the problems that need to be ironed out. Thank you very much, Manqoba Mchunu.